Even as Jews celebrate a new beginning and Rosh Hashanah as the birthday of humanity, we often find humans creating opportunities at every turn to celebrate new beginnings. We celebrate a new birth, a new home, a job, a course of study. We find points of new beginnings throughout our lives, and each provides an opportunity to begin again in love. This autumn season in our American culture is a new year for the school calendar, from preschool through colleges and universities, and so also with the church year, as the fall marks a new program year in our Unitarian Universalist churches as well. We return and celebrate ingathering in September, even if we have not been away. We celebrate the arrival of all of our folks who come back from summer, even when they don't come back till October. We start new lifespan faith engagement classes, and we schedule new events. We gather in joy to be together again. Each time we reach a point of new beginning, there is the excitement of a fresh start, the chance to leave behind the mistakes of the past and to use the lessons we've learned from the challenges that we faced. A new beginning can provide the opportunity to seek a do-over, the chance to try again, so perhaps we can get it right this next time. The do-over, I think that's one key to our love of new beginnings. We are human, and to be human is to fall short of our own expectations, again and again, not being the people we most want ourselves to be. We set our sights on a goal, and then we slip or trip and miss the mark. May I have a do-over? We try something new to us, and we find it doesn't turn out exactly as we'd hoped. May I have a do-over? We do our best to be a loving partner or friend, and then we say or do something thoughtless, and a precious relationship is broken. May I please have a do-over, another chance to get it right, to make all well between us. Time and again we fall short. Time and again we recognize that our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible, that we have struck out in anger when we were in pain. Perhaps we have been greedy, selfish, and self-centered. We recognize that we've fallen short of the expectations we have for ourselves, and so we ask for another chance, a do-over. We ask forgiveness, seeking to begin again in love. And so we find the other Jewish holy day in the autumn, just 10 days after Rosh Hashanah, celebrates the birth of humanity in the new year, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. This is the highest of the high holy days in Jewish tradition, the day to recognize all the ways in which we have failed to live up to our own expectations, the day to say, I'm sorry, how can I make it better? The day to make amends and seek forgiveness. In atonement, we seek to be brought back into relationship, for ourselves and our connections to be made whole again after we've fallen short of our best expectations. The Jews are not the only ones with an annual ritual of repentance, forgiveness, and atonement. We find them in many faith traditions. The Jain community each fall celebrates Samvatsari, the festival of forgiveness, when they seek forgiveness from each other and all the creatures of the world. They reach out to their family and friends whom they knowingly or unknowingly harmed, seeking to resolve any hurts or angers between them. As one Jain practitioner quoted, "This is the beginning of new life by releasing old hurts." Christians celebrate each year the holy time of Lent, 40 days of fasting and repentance, leading up to the Easter of resurrection into new life. Muslims all over the world annually celebrate Ramadan, a holy month of fasting, introspection, and prayer. The 12-step programs for recovery from addiction also build in the element of atonement, as they call for a person in recovery to examine past errors, make amends for those errors, and learn to live a new life. It is essentially human to notice that we have fallen short, to make amends, and to seek a new beginning. I grew up in a family that practiced the Catholic faith, and early in my childhood I was initiated into the sacrament of confession. There may be others in this room who share that experience. It seemed deeply mysterious, going each Saturday evening, since a recent confession was required in those days in order to participate in Holy Communion on Sunday, kneeling in a dark and supposedly private booth, speaking through a screen to a priest I could only vaguely see, whispering all my young wrongdoings, and being told how many times I must say the prescribed prayers in order to be forgiven my sins and be purified, to be reconciled to God and eligible to participate in the sacraments. So I will admit, by the time I was old enough to actually have committed actions that might be considered truly sinful, I was no longer a practicing Catholic. But the sights, the textures, and feelings of the confessional are etched in my memory. Although I no longer practice the religion of my childhood, I appreciate the power of the confessional in our human need to admit to our failings, to be reconciled to the divine, to each other, to the integrity of the universe. Confession, repentance, and reconciliation are a deeply human sacrament, a sacred act, recognizing the power of the new beginning, the return to the place of our souls in the many ways it can be achieved or conferred. Atonement is more than simply doing penance or making amends. It is truly a process of at-one-ment, in which we retrieve and reassemble that which within us is broken, and repair the relationships that we have broken in our failings. We seek to return to a state of unity, at one, of a state of coherence, of posture, of alignment with our own inner knowing, alignment with the life force, alignment with the deep source of our power to live in a meaningful and connected way. We seek to be at one with whatever we know as the essence of being, with the divine, with spirit, with the web of being. We seek to be at one with those we love, restoring healthy relationship. Being at one, however, does not mean merging with the other. It does not mean losing ourselves in relationship. True atonement, at-one-ment, reconciliation, and the restoration of alignment calls for balanced connection, in which we know clearly who we are, we know where our own self ends and the separate self of another person begins. In psychology, this is called self-differentiation. When we are differentiated, we can distinguish our experience from the experience of the people we are connected to. We know who we are, and even in loving and connected relationship, or perhaps especially in loving and connected relationship with others, we are clear in our internal relationship with ourselves. We neither take ownership for another person's feelings, nor do we blame others for what we are feeling. Our experience is our own, and in that way we can learn to live with others in loving, healthy, flexible, mutually beneficial relationships. Our monthly theme for October is mystery, and it is one of the mysteries of life that the most honest and respectful human connection requires that participants be complete individuals with clear differentiation of themselves. In a healthy relationship, I know which voice is mine and which is yours. I know what experience is mine and I own it, while I allow you to own your own experience. In healthy relationship, I know where I end and where you begin. And the space in between? In the space between us, balancing and connecting, is the true essence of love. The principles of connection, atonement, and differentiation apply as well to the larger failings of an imperfect and broken social system. The human struggle with deeply rooted systems of supremacy and privilege, supported in the past and perhaps into the present by flawed interpretations of science and religion, continue to create a culture of broken relationship that permeates every aspect of our society, affecting human relationships around race and ethnicity, gender, age, body type, religion, national origin, so many realities of our human lives that form a basis for exclusion and oppression. And so arises a key question for our time. We know it is part of being human to fall short of our best expectations and intentions, but with a brokenness that so permeates an entire society, how do we not just get stuck there? When we recognize our errors, how can we truly accept our responsibility and seek atonement, at one-ment? How do we work to make amends and seek forgiveness? How do we start anew and make a new beginning? How do we begin again in love? How do we learn to live in a new way? How do we heal the injuries that have been done? How do we know the way forward? A path forward, one of the paths, I believe, lies in the ongoing creation of a faith community founded on our most powerful and generative human values, a community in which we can learn new skills. We can admit that we have fallen short. We can come into new understandings, new language, new ways to live into wholeness. A community in which we can find the confidence to open our hearts and allow ourselves to understand the harms that have been done and to whom. We can grow in compassion for each other and all others in the world as we are each on our own singular journey, sharing our path on one small and precious planet. In compassion, we can turn our attention to creating justice, taking responsibility and truly apologizing to those who have been harmed. I'm sorry. How can I make it better? Healing the wounds, righting the wrongs, making reparations, doing what we can to balance the scales so that fairness and the opportunity for a full human life may be the birthright of all persons. This is a perspective that helps me keep the generative possibility in view, and it's articulated by Black Lives Matter activist Adrienne Marie Brown, who advised that things are not getting worse, they are getting uncovered. We must hold each other tight and continue to pull back the veil. Things are not getting worse, they are getting uncovered. We must hold each other tight and continue to pull back the veil. It is our work in this community of faith and commitment to continue pulling back the veil, to deepen our own understanding and strengthen the foundation for us to take our place powerfully on the side of love in a changing society, to continue in the vanguard of those who seek at one-ment with all humanity. As we return in these holy days of awe, once and again to the place of our souls, we forgive ourselves and each other. We acknowledge the times we fall short, and we bring ourselves around to begin again and again in love. And so we generate an ever-expanding circle of relationship, creating relationships of healthy, resilient connection in which we build a community of wholeness, generosity, and trust. Then and only then can we join in welcoming all who enter here, knowing that open-hearted generosity will generate ever more abundance, and that in this world there is no place for greed and selfishness in this new life we create together. And that brings me to the third of the autumnal holidays in the Jewish tradition, Sukkot, called the Feast of Tabernacles and the Time of Our Joy. The observance begins this year on October 13th at sundown. That's next Sunday. Sukkot celebrates the generosity of divine love and protection to a people who wander in the desert, the abundance of the harvest and all the strength we find in community, welcoming all who wish to share our journey. It is fundamentally all about love. We begin in love, the spirit of this church. We begin in love and acceptance of our own human imperfection and potential, love of our deeply flawed but hopeful culture, love of the world and all its inhabitants, love for this precious planet itself, our only home in this wide universe. Love is the source of our lives and of all our new beginnings, the connective fiber of our relationships, the source of all our joy, leading us to peace and life abundant. And so I invite you to rise, embody your spirit, and join in singing our closing hymn, number 219, in your gray hymnal, O Hear My People. And Natasha will play it through so that we get the tune.